Good morning. This is Jovine from Behind the Markets. Today is Thursday, March 6th. As soon as I finish this, I'm heading over to the dentist. He's going to take a tooth out. We're going to put an implant in there. And he said to me, you might have a missing tooth. You might need a temporary for 90 days until the whole implant thing is built out or whatever these people do. And so my daughter's been making fun of me because I might be smiling. I might be missing a tooth here. So do not think that I've decided to start smoking meth. Just for the record, I just want to clarify that now. Anyway, today I want to answer a question. A lot of people writing in, why is the market going down? Sometimes I take for granted that I've been doing this for a very long time and that I live in the finance world and I read these headlines and I'm doing this all day long, that not everybody understands some of the big things that are happening here. So, look, this is all about trade policy. We've slapped 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which means the average car, for example, is going to go up a lot of money. The car that you were able to buy last week at $30,000 is going to be $6,000 more expensive. The SUV is going to be $20,000 more expensive, whatever that is. And we've also slapped now 20% tariffs on Chinese imports, which means that couches, televisions, everything you buy from Walmart, clothing, computers, virtually everything that you buy at Target or Walmart is now going to be 20% more expensive. And that includes iPhones. And iPhones, if they cost $1,000, they're now going to cost $1,200 that come in from China. When the same product that you bought last week is now 20 to 25% more expensive this week, that means you can get less bang for your buck. And that puts a lot of pressure on consumers. And you think about Mexico, you think about guacamole, avocados come from Mexico. Guacamole is going to be 25% more expensive. So when you're ordering at the Mexican food place and it's $5, that's going to be now over $6. It's going to be 25% more expensive. So that means your dollar is going to go less far. And that's just the bottom line. And since consumers drive 66, almost 70% of economic activity, consumers are going to have less money to spend. So economic activity is going to slow down, and that's not great. Now, I've heard some people say that tariffs aren't inflationary. Well, that's fake news. It's disinformation or counter propaganda, as they used to call it, as Warren Buffett said in an interview this week. And of course, they're inflationary. I mean, who pays it? The tooth fairy? But there are examples or exceptions when that's not necessarily true. For example, let's say that Apple, and by the way, that's why the markets are going down. They think the consumer is going to have less money to spend on all different types of products made by American companies, which means American companies, their profit, the revenue and the profit is going to go down. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. The companies that are facing these tariffs could absorb them. For example, iPhone, which should cost $200 more for every $1,000. $1,000 iPhone now costs $1,200. Apple could decide to absorb that and not pass that cost on to consumers. But that's also going to hit the stock market because Apple's profits would go down, or Ford's profits would go down, or General Motors' profits could go down if they decide to try to absorb these things. Also, we sell a lot of products into China, into Canada. We sell liquor. They're boycotting our liquor. So that's going to hit things too. Look, at the end of the day, by the way, there are going to be a lot of pockets of strength here. Like you look at defense, Trump's Iron Dome. It's a $2.5 trillion project that's coming up. That's going to send really strong for defense companies that are really going to help put that together. Europe just announced a $500 billion fund for defense. So there's a lot of pockets of strength here that will do well. Basically, the Pentagon is going to be handing us a win on the silver platter in some of the stocks that we recommend and that we have working on. Anyway, but the point that I'm trying to make is, I find it helpful in my own experience. 30 years I've been doing this, over 30 years, 35 years almost. And when you do something for decades, you learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Just like you in your profession. You do something for 30, 40, 50 years, you learn the ins and outs of something. That's what the gray hair is for. That's what that means. And one of the things that I've learned is when the market just starts to sell off and I feel good about the companies that I own, and I don't want to do future tripping. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. My retirement plans aren't going to work. Oh my goodness, everything I thought of. No future tripping. This is just a storm. It's a rainstorm. Sometimes I feel like it's a hurricane, like in the Great Crisis and the COVID. But it's a storm and it'll pass. And we come into this and all across all of our services. One of the things I did at the end of last year was I sold companies that if the stock market disappeared, I wouldn't want to own them. So right now, we've recommended companies that if the stock market just went blank, silent for 5 years, I think that those companies would be better off in 5 years than they are today. And those are the kinds of things we own. When you think about time, over time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, these things go up. And these little blips that we're in right now, they get smaller and smaller in the context of time. So all you got to do is pull the camera back. No future tripping. Don't get panicky. Pull the camera back and think about time, duration. Over time, I believe we're going to be just fine. And I believe that in terms of policy, that Trump is trying to rebalance trade. And the American people voted for that. So that is what being in a democracy means. We got to accept when the American people vote for things, whether we agree with them or not, because I got a lot of mail from people who don't agree and think that we're destroying the country. Look, I understand both sides of it. I'm an investor, so I have to try to really see both sides of things. That helps me a lot. But the best thing that happens in a market like this is that it creates great opportunities. And again, I know I'm hawking Midnight America. I'm hawking it right now because it's really appropriate. You really understand why Trump is doing all these things, really, because we face massive problems with our deficit and our debt. So that is why this is happening. And I will detail all of it in Midnight America. And more importantly, 4 steps that you want to take when the market really does crack. And it really gives you the playbook that I used in 2009. And again, forgive me for hawking it a lot. This is not an infomercial channel, but it's just really the right tool that you want in a situation like this. Anyway, when you see me tomorrow, I'm going to be banged up on the right side of my mouth. Thankfully, I'll roll right into the weekend, and here we go. Have a wonderful day.